Although, in spite of the fact that, although he had only entered the contest for fun, he won first prize. Although he was bold, he found it difficult to explain his mission. Although it doesn't look like it, the whole thing is highly organized. Although the beach was crowded, we still had a lovely day. In order to expresses the purpose of something. The government plans to cut taxes in order to boost the economy. The mind needs to be fed with good nutrition in order to attain wisdom. They were seen trying to intervene in order to control the situation. Use this mixture to gargle in order to get relief from infections. So that, to introduce an action, or a purpose. Anger rusts intellect so that it cannot recognize right from wrong. He worked hard so that he could pass the entrance examination. We are taping your speaking test so that you can listen to it later. She worked all night so that she could get the job done in time. Regardless. Having or showing no regard. Everybody can do this regardless of religion, color, or creed. He went ahead and did it, regardless of the consequences. You get a lot of criticism, but you just have to carry on regardless. He says what he thinks, regardless of other people's feelings. Because of, on account of, by reason of. The company went bankrupt because of its poor management. There were so many people in the shop because of the sale. Because of the rain, the tennis match was suddenly stopped. There were so many people in the shop because of the sale. Meanwhile, in the intervening time, I went to college. Meanwhile, all my friends got well-paid jobs. The flight will be announced soon. Meanwhile, please remain seated. I was crossing the street. Meanwhile, the traffic light turned red. You can set the table. Meanwhile, I'll start making dinner. Simultaneously. Existing or occurring at the same time. The opera will be broadcast simultaneously on television and radio. Two children answered the teacher's question simultaneously. Their strength and their vulnerability come out simultaneously. Each document is simultaneously existing in thousands of places. Therefore, in consequence of that, as a result, muscle cells need lots of fuel and therefore burn lots of calories. The pharaohs were considered gods and therefore immortal. Everyone outside is wearing heavy coats, therefore, it must be cold. They didn't get the funding and therefore had to abandon the project. Formally. In the past, in earlier times, the European Union was formerly called the European Community. We now enjoy these comforts of which formerly we had only heard. The company formerly belonged to an international banking group. Istanbul, Turkey was formerly known as Constantinople and Byzantium. However, in whatever manner or way that some of the food crops failed. However, the cotton did quite well. This is a cheap and simple process. However, there are dangers. I think I'm quite organized. My partner, however, disagrees. I enjoy playing basketball, however, I'm not very good at it. Furthermore, in addition, more importantly. Texting while driving is dangerous, and furthermore, it is also illegal. I don't want to go there, furthermore, I have no time to do so. The weather was all right, furthermore, the sun was shining. She won the race, and furthermore, she established a new record. Not only but also. To connect and emphasize two actions. The car not only is economical but also feels good to drive. He speaks Spanish not only naturally but also fluently. Not only is he an excellent writer, but also a great public speaker. She is not only an engineer but also a photographer by passion. Despite. Without being prevented by something. Despite all the hours of practice and training, we lost the game. Despite my repeated assurances, Rob still looked very nervous. He persevered despite discouragement from those around him. Despite valiant efforts by the finance minister, inflation rose to 20%. Likewise. In the same way. I enjoy hiking, and likewise, my sister loves to go on long walks in nature. Tom is a great cook, likewise, he is an expert in baking desserts. I love to read books, and likewise, my best friend is an avid reader. I am a vegetarian, and likewise, my roommate follows a plant-based diet. In other words, to explain it more clearly, they're letting me go? In other words, I've been sacked. He was economical with the truth, in other words, he was lying. Peace, in other words, depends solely on collective security. It does not, in other words, bear the hallmarks of nationalism. Notably. Worthy of note or notice. The house had many drawbacks, most notably its location and price. He seems polite, and notably respectful of older people. Some patients, notably the very young, have greater risks of flu. New approaches are also needed, notably in health policy. Conversely. In an opposite way. Success is all about hard work, but conversely, luck plays a big role. I thought the movie was terrible, conversely, it turned out to be enjoyable. Exercise is the key to weight loss, conversely, diet is often more important. Technology is making us more isolated, conversely, it can do the opposite. Unless, except on the condition that you won't get paid for time off unless you have a doctor's note. No man can be a good ruler unless he has first been ruled. Unless you study diligently, you'll never understand trigonometry. We won't get a table at the restaurant unless we get there early. Otherwise. In another manner, differently. Turn off the gas when the milk boils. Otherwise, it will be spilled. The wise never marry, and when they marry they become otherwise. I felt really sick last night, otherwise, I would have come to your party. Kids need something to occupy their time, otherwise, they get bored. In general. Usually, or in most situations. The inequalities between the sexes were mirrored in life in general. Minerals in general are not nearly as well absorbed as other nutrients. I am glad to find myself in general accord with your opinions. Laughter is the best medicine for a tough situation in general. since. From a definite past time until now. Scientific knowledge has greatly advanced since the 16th century. Children have been routinely immunized against polio since 1950. I've earned my own living since I was 13, doing all kinds of jobs. The couple has been working as content writers since 2018. As soon as. Immediately after something happens. Places are strictly limited, so you should apply as soon as possible. The Commission has agreed to restart talks as soon as possible. Places are strictly limited, so you should apply as soon as possible. The best time to go for a morning walk is as soon as one gets up. Eventually. At the end of a period of time. The new design will eventually replace all existing models. The company eventually monopolized the entire tobacco industry. The couple eventually wed after a 7-year engagement. Her constant campaigning eventually got her the nomination. Accordingly. In accordance, correspondingly. We have to discover what his plans are and act accordingly. The government needs to listen to the public and respond accordingly. The car is made with the best materials and is priced accordingly. Once the payment is received, we will process your order accordingly. Even though. Despite the fact that. I was always afraid of him, even though he was kind to me. She says she still loves him even though he treats her badly. She sold the house even though it was against his wishes. Listen to your heart even though it's on your left side, it's always right. Whereas. Compared with the fact that. We thought she was arrogant, whereas, in fact, she was just very shy. Your hair has a natural wave whereas mine's just straight and boring. You treat the matter lightly, whereas I myself was never more serious. He must be about 60, whereas his wife looks about 30. Alternatively. As another choice or option. You can go swimming or alternatively, you can go to the beach. Instead of drinking soda, alternatively, you could drink water. They could go to the museum, alternatively, they could go to the zoo. You can watch a movie or alternatively, you can play a board game. On balance. Taking everything into consideration. On balance, biotechnology should be good for developing countries. Despite some failures, our firm has had quite a good year on balance. On balance, the advantages of social media outweigh the drawbacks. This new theory has, on balance, proved realistic for modern life. Prior to. Before a particular time or event. Passengers must fasten their seat belts prior to descent. A complete safety check was performed on the aircraft prior to takeoff. Prior to 1981, labor strikes by black workers in South Africa were illegal. Home computers were virtually unknown to many people prior to 1980. As long as. During the whole time that. You can borrow the car so long as you don't drive too fast. That there was no room for unhappiness as long as I was free. You will be seeing miracles as long as you take a deep breath. That system worked well as long as property prices continually rose. Thus, in this or that manner or way. Some people will be more capable and thus better paid than others. He sold his farm and thus he had enough money for his vacation. The video on YouTube was hilarious, and thus it became viral. They have done all the work, thus deserving of all the credit. As a result, because of something happens. As a result of the accident, he was out of work for 3 months. The flood came about as a result of the heavy spring rains. Her hair started falling out as a result of radiation treatment. The Black Sea is facing an ecological catastrophe as a result of pollution. Recently, a relatively short time ago, there have been several retirements in our office recently. Very high taxes have recently been imposed on cigarettes. The long-dormant volcano has recently shown signs of erupting. The lake was recently designated as a birds conservation area. Yet, until now so far, I don't like rain, yet I live in the state with the most rainfall. I haven't seen that movie yet, so don't tell me how it ends. The evening was ending, but the night had not yet come. He apologized for the mistake, yet he was not sorry at all. Similarly, in a similar way, in almost the same way, husband and wife were similarly successful in their chosen careers. The different groups of women in the study responded similarly. The students were asked to dress similarly for the graduation ceremony. The dining room was gloomy, and the food was similarly lacking in charm. Moreover, in addition to what has been said, the new professor is smart and, moreover, he is incredibly handsome. The rent is reasonable, and moreover, the location is perfect. The whole report is badly written. Moreover, it's inaccurate. Smoking gives you bad breath. Moreover, it is harmful to your health. Specially for one particular purpose. This particular room was specially designed to be used as a library. These politics are specially designed for multinational companies. The kitchen knife set is specially designed for professional chefs. The sports shoes are specially designed for high-intensity workouts. Whether to introduce alternative possibilities. We're not sure whether to stay here for dinner or go somewhere else. It doesn't matter whether it rains or shines, we'll be here. A thief is a thief, whether he steals a diamond or a cucumber. I don't know whether Jessica will come to the cinema with me or not.